Hey, we're live. This is Coach Manny saying, hey, great to be with you again today. Let me make sure I got everything tuned up here the right way. I'm excited. I know many of you got to join us last week on part one of the decision making process. And, I'm really getting excited about this book and the team that's coming together. And, it's been such a thing out there that people have been, I need to have help making decisions. So the book is online to be hitting the market by the first of the year. We're the only thing that could hold us up is that we seem to be getting more material than we thought. We took one chapter and blew it out into a bunch more chapters. There's just so much that you're telling us you need. So please stay with us on these hangouts as we go through this fall, because one of the things we're going to do is we're going to keep talking about decision making and the pieces, and then you can go back and kind of watch the video, right? Last week we hoped to do more, but we just kind of did an introduction, and I hope it was what you needed to get started. And I hope you pass that on, because I'm always telling you, please pass that on to some other people and say, join us. Check this out. Is this something that you're dealing with? Because there's just so many people out there that are struggling. And that struggle with making decisions is what can keep you in that middle management realm, if you're in the corporate world, forever and never get to the top. And even some people who get to the top, then they blow out of the top and they never get back, because they still haven't learned how important it is to make decisions. And I hope you enjoyed my story about Nate last week. So let me do a couple of housekeeping tasks. We are here, just as we are every week, to bring you the information you need to run your business, your career, and your life better. We are very sales focused. Now, we're going to spend some time on leadership and decision making, but to me, it's all sales, because you still have, whether you're selling a product or you're selling yourself to the corporation, to the customers, to your boss, whatever it is, you need the ability to make decisions, and that's what's going to make you a superstar. And we know that everybody who listens to Coach Manny's program is a superstar, right? The only other housekeeping task we have is our new program, the Entrepreneur Toolbox, will be online. We're hoping in the next 2 weeks you'll be able to sign up for a membership. Look, if you think this is good, we're going to give you so much more. And the price on this new product, you're just not going to believe it. I shared it with some people this morning, and they were like, you're giving it away. And that's right, because what we want to do is we want to put together a group of a few thousand people who can share information and work with each other. So stay tuned with us, and then we'll share probably a lot more next week. But we're finally starting to put those pieces together. As always, I'm excited. Let's talk about making decisions, because I had to make a decision. Were we going to do this new product, or weren't we? And I made that decision. So I promised you today we talk about these 7 things. And let's just let me bring up here a piece that I want to share with you. I think this is the right piece. Okay, so an outstanding leader must have the ability and discipline to decide effectively, timely, and correctly. And I think we all agree with that, don't we? But the reason most people never become outstanding leaders is because of what? It's because the higher you go in an organization, there's a few key things here. And these are the things that you got to get your hands around. And you got to really decide, I'm going to do this. I can make this happen. And number one is the faster you have to be able to make decisions. When I'm low in an organization and I want to take tonight and sleep on something, or I want to take a week and think about it, it's not that big a deal, right? Because you're not having the same effect, and then you're not in the same type of environment. But as you go higher in the organization, your time to make that decision is less and less, and rightfully so, right? I mean, you're supposed to be a leader in an organization. And as the leader in that organization, when it comes to, here's the facts. Can you make a decision? And there's nothing worse. I want to tell you, there's nothing worse out there than somebody who's supposed to make a decision who is hesitating. Because what that does, it kills your entire team. Because it just does. So the faster you have to be able to make a decision usually with less information than you would like to have. It's just, I need to make a decision today. And guess what? I need to make a decision on whether we're going to move forward with this project. I need some more information. I don't have it. I got all these things sitting out there waiting for me. Guess what? Either go or no go. I got to make a decision. It is a decision. I can make a decision to say, we're not moving forward until this and this happens. And that's a decision. But to just sit there and say, oh, I don't know. I don't know about you, but one of the reasons I love talking about decision making and I love teaching about it is because it drives me crazy. When it's time to make a decision, just make a decision and let's get moving. So, faster with less information, and the thing that's really the kicker is the greater the impact. Because as you move up in an organization or as your company gets bigger and bigger, you have to make decisions faster and faster and faster. And some people, I got to tell you, some people just aren't equipped to make decisions faster, more impact, less information. Some people just aren't. Everybody is not a decision maker. But if you want to be a leader, you have to be a decision maker because people are going to look to you to make it happen. And when you can't make it happen, that sends a message to the team. So remember those three things as you go forward. If you can't decide what to do about one or two employees, what's going to happen when you have to make that decision and it affects 2,000 employees? Where are you going to be? It's still a decision. And I think that's the thing. Like some people argue that, well, a leader in this size organization can't really run this size of an organization. And I tend to differ with that because I say leadership is mostly being able to take in information and make a decision. Now, if you know how to do it here, you can do it here. It's just, like I said, less time, bigger impact, and greater effect. That's all. And as long as you can handle that, you can make them decisions. So I'd rather take somebody who knows how to make a decision and let them do it than to have somebody who, oh, this person did all this and he worked in this corporation and he's been at this high level, but he can't make a decision. And you think I'm kidding. Let me tell you, I work with a lot of out-of-work executives since 2008, over the last 8 years. And I want to tell you, a lot of them, you wonder why they ever got where they were at, because they still can't make decisions. And that's why this series is here now. And if you can't manage a budget that's $100,000 or $1 million, what's going to happen when you got to manage a budget of 10 or 20 or 50 or $100 million? It's one of the reasons I like being an entrepreneur and I like working with small businesses, because the small business owner out there is a lot more adept at making decisions. So, as I was telling the story last week, the story was really simple. That's what I learned. I learned in a small company. And then when I went to work for a big company, I had to make some decisions, and it was no problem, because I understand the essence of making a decision is, here's the information, here's the impact, this is when I need a decision. Now just make it. It is that simple. And I know I'm going to get some email feedback here. It's not really that simple, Manny, but it is. Great leaders must be able to make decisions, whether you're in the home, And there's great leaders in the home, don't get me wrong, in the business or in any other area of your life. Even in your home, people who have a great home life have made the right decisions. You still have to make a decision, don't you? Now, how often have you been in a meeting where everyone's discussing an issue, but no one is willing to take that step to step up and make the decision? Everyone will talk about it, argue about it, and get angry about it. Yet no one will just step up and say, let's make a decision and move forward. Now, I will, and I know some of you out there watching this say, absolutely, Manny, that's me. I'm the guy or the gal out there who is making a decision. God bless you, because that's what we need to make our companies more effective. Outstanding leadership requires the ability to make decisions, the willingness to put your neck on the line. Let's go for it. Stop hesitating. You know, people who hesitate when it comes to making decisions just can drive me crazy. Put your neck on the line. Have the courage to stand up and make it happen. And read my article out there. I wish I had thought about it before this, but I have an article out there that's called "The Courage of the Cowardly Lion." You can just search it on my YouTube. You can search that. I think I have that one YouTube out there on it as well as an article. And just read about courage, because leaders require courage. It doesn't mean you have to be this big, bad, brave person. It means you need courage. All right. Many talk about it, few can do it. And, you know, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Joyce Meyer. And in her book, 100 Ways to Simplify Your Life, she puts it this way: you cannot drive a parked car. You see, God has only one gear, and that gear that God has is forward. And sometimes we need to do something just to keep from continuing to do nothing. And that's one of the big problems in many companies today. They're doing nothing. And a lot of companies over the last 10 years, by doing nothing, they have went out of business. Making decisions is at the heart of success and making your business work. So you got to be able to do it. Courage means what? It means the willingness to stand up and take the shot. Are you ready to take the shot? It means having the convictions to know that what you are doing is right, and then actually doing it. Gosh, you know, I love to quote these people, because people like Joyce Meyer, John Maxwell, and a few others, they have no problem making decisions, and they have no problem helping you to learn to do it, as I don't. John Maxwell always says, the number one characteristic of a good leader, the ability to make things happen. How do you make things happen? You make things happen by making decisions. So I want you to grip hold of that. I want you to understand that this series and this book is all about, how do I make it happen? Because how do you make it happen? You make it happen by learning how to make decisions. Stop hesitating. Wait, just make the decision. You see, risk is putting your neck on the line. And if you're unwilling to take the risk, why are you in a leadership position? Just take a moment and ask that. If you're unwilling to take the risk, what are you doing in leadership? Do you really belong there? Of course not. Leadership means taking risks. People with a low tolerance for risk should not be leading. The inability to risk means you have too much fear, and fear creates a low propensity for success. And I can't remember who said that, but I know I didn't say it. I just found it in the articles we were using to put this series together. But I want you to understand that you gotta be willing to take the risk. Are you? That's the question. So remember, too, that Howard Hendricks says the opposite of courage isn't cowardice anyway. It's conformity. And too many leaders today just have this real thing sitting inside of them, that they are just plain and simple conformists. And leadership, real leadership, doesn't mean you conform to everything. It means you go out and you're a radical, right? And those of you who know I'm a big Christian, and I love the Lord, and the Lord was a radical man. It's just a fact of life. So let's look at these 7 points, and like always, we blow through our time, right? So I'm going to start talking about them, and we'll talk about them as we keep moving forward. But there's 7 things related to decision making that you need to really understand. And if you're going to be that powerful, strong leader, and I don't mean powerful in a negative way, I mean, if you're going to be that strong leader, you got to have these. And number 1 is you got to be willing to move forward without all the information. If you are one of those people who has to have everything and anything before you can make a decision, you're going to run into a very hard time, because business, and especially business in the 2000 teens, is moving at an astronomical speed. It used to be, we used to have so much time to make decisions. We used to have all the time in the world, it seemed, to make decisions. Life and the world was moving so much slower. But now the world is like on fire. It is moving that fast. And so you must be willing to move forward without all the information. The second thing is you must be able to handle the flack that occurs because of the decision you make. And it goes right along with the third point, which says you might have to be unpopular in the short run. And I want to tell you, if you are one of those people who has to be the most popular, you were the most popular person in high school, college, and work, all that, you're not going to be an effective leader, because there are so many times as a leader that you have to make a decision, and it's going to tick off some people. It's just what happens. People are going to get angry because they don't really understand everything. And you're going to get some flack, and people are not going to like you. But guess what? They're still going to respect you, because when all the smoke dies down, you're still going to be standing there in that strong position, and they're going to say, now I'm going to follow this guy or this gal, because you know what? They said it, and they did it, and they didn't back down. And even though all these people gave them a hard time, they continued to move forward. That's what we're talking about. Number 4, you must have conviction about the decision you are making and the willingness to stand up for it. I mean, when you have to make a decision and you don't have any conviction behind it, because why would you do that? I mean, sometimes I think in a corporate America, we're put in some very tough positions. But I have to, when I make a decision and I'm saying this is what we're going to do, I have to believe that it is the right thing. If it isn't the right thing, then I can't have that conviction. And what's going to happen? I'm going to run into a major roadblock. So get the conviction. Number 5. Time's not always on your side, is it? Guess what? You're going to run into a situation where you got to make a decision today. You got to make a decision right now. And time is not your friend. We spend a lot of time talking about time and time management and that whole realm. And you know how I'm always preaching to you that time stops for nobody. Time is an equally allocated resource. Some of us may have less talent. Some of us may have less brain power. Some of us may even have less stamina, but we all have 24 hours, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year to work in. Some people accomplish this much that you can't even see it, and other people are not even getting out of bed. So time is the great equalizer. as somebody said, and I don't remember, I think I just heard that recently. Time is a great equalizer. So time's not going to be there. Guess what? We have a problem in the factory, and we got to have a solution. And you got to make a decision, Manny. We're either going to A to B. The software we just released isn't working. We're going to either deploy this team, we're either going to bring in some help here, or what? We're going to let the problem persist. You got to make a decision. Those are the things that happen. And there is no time because customers are down, because there's problems, because there's critical situations. You got to make a decision. Now, it's one of the reasons I love to hire athletes in the sales game, because as an athlete, you're always put out there, and as a football player, you got to make a decision. What am I going to do next? Bam. As a basketball player, am I going to take the shot or pass the ball? As a hockey player, am I going to hit the puck or am I not? As a baseball player, am I going to swing or am I not going to swing? You got to make a decision. And if you can do those things, besides the fact you need discipline, but if you can do those things, then the time right now, that ball's coming at 90 miles an hour. And I think I forget, 1/10 of a second you have to make a decision whether you're going to swing that bat or not. And you got to do it. In business, a lot of times you've got to make a decision right now. And your power and your ability to lead and your ability to take this company forward is going to many times be based on your ability to make that decision. So make it. What is it that we say? If you make the wrong decision, what are we going to do? We're just going to make another one to correct it. But if we don't make a decision, we're going absolutely nowhere. Number 6, you got to be able to handle the impact of the decision. It might affect people's lives beyond your comfort zone. And those of us, who have worked in organizations where we had to, what we used to call it, rank our people from 1 to 100 or 150 or 200 or 500 or 1,000, rank them up. And then we're going to chop off the bottom third and they're going to get laid off. How tough a decision is that? I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like it. And it's hard to do. So how are you going to make that decision? Well, the thing I like about when you deal with that kind of decision, you split it up to you're going to make the decision, you're going to implement it, or you're going to do this part and I'm going to do this part. Trying to do it all sometimes can be so overwhelming. And I don't mean in amount of work. I just mean in the amount of stress coming back to you as a leader. So that means I'm always going to take the worst part, because guess what? As the leader in the top of an organization, you're going to take the hardest, toughest part and let other people take the other part. But just beyond your comfort zone, when you have to lay off people, I remember having to lay off people who were friends of mine. All right. I remember having to make those decisions, and those decisions cause pain. But guess what? What's the alternative? The alternative is the whole company dies. And many of you have seen that. You have 1,000 employees and you just can't support it anymore. So you've got to cut the staff. You've got to cut the team back to 700. That means 300 people are going. But if you do not make the decision to lay the 300 off, guess what? 1,000 people are going to be out of work. So you got to make those decisions. And I know it's not, why do I always talk about people? Because these are the tough decisions we have to make, because it affects people's lives way beyond my comfort zone. And number 7, and this is the one that you really, I want to make sure that this is the one that ingrains in you very deeply. And that is, it might be the wrong decision. All right? And please get a hold of this, and please understand, it might be the wrong decision. You might make the wrong decision. We all make wrong decisions. It's part of life. Look, the only thing you can do, and please take some notes. I want you to put this in your notes. Please write this down. When you make the wrong decision, what are you going to do? You have to make a corrective decision. And that becomes even probably more painful and tougher sometimes. But this is what stops people from making decisions, right? I don't want to make a decision because I might be wrong. Well, you're in the wrong position if you don't want to take that risk, because the possibility of making a wrong decision is always there. You always try to limit how much that could really happen. But guess what? I know this, I know that, I've looked at this, and now it's up to me. I'm the leader. I have to make a decision, and I could be wrong, and I have to be willing to live with that. And some of us have made some wrong decisions, whether they be in business or personal, and we had to move on. But we have to, many times when you're getting in that situation, you have to make a corrective decision, and you can't be afraid of doing it. There you go. 7 basic points I want you to take with you. And we're going to spend some time next week going through much more detail in all these. Willingness to move forward without all the information. Handling the flack. Being able to be unpopular in the short term. Conviction. Time. Impact. And that old killer, you could make the wrong decision. You see, outstanding leaders make decisions when they have to make them. Plain and simple. If you want to be outstanding, that's why you're watching these videos. That's why you're buying the book. Then work on getting better and better each and every day. Because failure creates success. I wrote the book, right? It's a bottom line. If you're not willing to fail, you're not going to make the decision. And if you don't make the decision, you're not going to go anywhere, and you're going to drown in the boat. What was that? When I teach failure creates success, I always say, get up off the dock and jump in the lake. You'll learn how to swim. Or you'll learn how to do what you need to do. And many times, you just got to take the shot. And it's the same thing with the decision making. And I know it's scary. It's okay to be scary. It is scary making these decisions sometimes. The bottom line is told to me more by one of my great mentors, Nate Konecki, who I told you the story about last week. The bottom line is just make a decision now. If you are wrong, then you'll have to make another decision. Stop holding back. It's what's killing American business today. We are holding back instead of just moving forward because it's not popular. People aren't going to like it because it's not politically correct. Who cares all that stuff? You need to move forward because what are we in business for? We're in business to make a profit, whether people like that or not. I know a lot of people don't like it. But the bottom line is we're not in business to have a party or make everybody happy or to employ all these people. Businesses are there to make money, and that's what they're there for. Now, Nate taught me well, and now I'm trying to teach you. So, next week, we start looking at some more detail. This is one of those things that started out as these 7 little things, and now I think it's blown into 2 or 3 articles already. So, this is the meat. If you get this piece, if you get over these stuff, then you're going to be able to make that decision and you're going to be able to move on. Let me do a couple housekeeping tips. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you are enjoying the series. I hope you got on our team. We got a team out there. I think we put it in this week's newsletter. Go out on our website and the blog. You can see how to sign up. If you want to be on a team that looks at the book, gets a free copy of the book when we're done, gives us some help in putting this together from, tell me, what do you think about this? I mean, if I'm saying stuff today and you're saying, wow, Manny, I don't really agree with that, then tell me because I want to know. Because the more I can help people through this process, the better it will be. This book is intended to help people learn how to become better, stronger decision makers. And whether you're a 15-year-old kid in high school or a 65-year-old guy trying to figure out what to do next or anybody in between, guess what? Decision making will be key for your success. This is Coach Manny. I'm excited to be here. I get fired up when I do these And I hope that you take what we give you here, and I hope you apply it each and every day. And as my good friend Burl Walk always said, get out there and create a better world. That's where I want you to be. Thank you for being here with me today, and we'll see you next week on Coach Manny's Weekly Hangout. Thanks.